Awesome. So welcome back to part two of the show. We've decided to switch roles here. So now it's Neil in the hot seat, going through all what they've
That's
discovered
good.
and yeah, just how did the vibes do? Love that as a kind of opening gambit. I love how it's kind of broken down from good vibes only, vibes and markets, and then the omniscient edge, which I guess is the nice little cherry on top of it all kind of coming together. So do you want to walk us through what each of those mean? The good vibes only, vibes versus market, and then the secret sauce of the omniscient edge.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we're trying to replicate here at scale is like your best friend who's always on Twitter, always on TikTok, knows all the memes, is just a funnel for all of the vibes for the
Hmm.
NCAA tournaments. But you don't have time for that. You need to sleep. Maybe you have a job. You hopefully have like friends and like family. So you just want to use AI to do that for you. So here at Omniscient, we actually have like a giant radar dish for the internet. We collect millions of social comments and then process them, analyze them, score them for sentiment, and derive all kinds of metrics off of them. So what I did here is I built 3 AI models to test in parallel because I wasn't sure what would work best, and I really wanted to isolate what was working so that I can double down on it so I can beat Will in the World Cup. That was my motivation. Get those charity dollars flowing. We have 3 models here, Will. We've got Good Vibes Only, which, I'll explain in a moment. We got Vibes Plus Markets, which is a hybrid strain. And then we got the Omniscient Edge, which is like our super secret skunkworks, weapon that we're developing internally. And so the performance across the men's and women's tournaments for the vibes was really different. In general, our models hit around, 79, 80, 85% on men's, and were much less effective for the women's. So it'll be interesting in the debrief to look back and see how we can improve that, see how we can get that better. But so let me just define what each model is, and then we can dive into the results. So Good Vibes Only is really funny. So Good Vibes Only is inspired by Mariners hitter Luis Suarez, who hit a big grand slam for us in the playoffs. And his mantra in the locker room was, "Hey, good vibes only," through all the ups and downs of the team. So this is named for you, Luis. This is something that completely ignores rankings. It ignores any kind of stats, and it only goes on internet social media vibes across we had 146,000 social comments from multiple channels. I'm not going to name all the channels here, just keeping that under the hood. But this is just pure buzz, engagement quality, sentiment momentum, coach to team, mentions ratio, dark horse energy, which is something that we're quantifying, a bit of a penalty for overhype, hype versus reality, narrative strength, and market divergence with zero weight on traditional stats or market odds. So we describe it as bold, chaotic, and the truest test of whether crowd attention predicts outcomes.
Very
Then,
cool.
shall I keep going with the vibes plus markets, or
Yeah,
what stands out to you about this
yeah. I
one?
just wanted to drill down into one because yeah, obviously it's a big kind of composite index, but the coach to team ratio, maybe that could be an interesting one. How does the coach kind of factor into this kind of index?
Our hypothesis is if there's too much chat about the coach and not enough about the team, it indicates like a fragile position where either either the team is going to go all the way or they're going to underperform.
Hmm.
So certain coaches, Coach K, Kansas, there's a couple of really big personalities on the men's and the women's side. And we wondered if it might also indicate, hey, actually the roster, the squad this year is not that strong because when the coach becomes the story, that tells you something. We're not sure what that something is, but we wanted to account for that in these models.
Yeah, very cool.
So the vibes plus markets is a more sensible approach. It blends per game betting spreads with all of our vibes data. And the idea is that it kind of softens some of the wild swings or like hype based upset picks from the good vibes only. And it tunes it to kind of a more consensus aligned model that in in the build-up predicted fewer upsets. What's funny is it's actually been less accurate in both the round of 64 and the round of 32 than Good Vibes Only, which managed to hit 9 out of 9 on the round of 32, which is pretty encouraging. And we'll be looking into those in particular.
Very cool.
And also, Will is a very competitive, good sport. He mentioned to me that I might want to use more advanced markets data than just to win the championship, which was like the first thing I pulled from the odds API. He's like, yeah, you might want to factor things like the spread, the money line, etc. So we sharpened this up in a V2. And thanks, that was
Very cool.
a friendly gesture. Thank you, Will, for mentioning that.
Yeah, we're all about kind of improving the models and coming out on top. And yeah, this is only the trial run. This is preseason for us, so I won't be giving
Yeah,
those tips for the World Cup when it comes around.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's going to be helmets on game time when that happens. Yeah.
100%.
So so we wanted to push our assumptions even further with the omniscient edge, and it basically it goes much further with the good vibes than good vibes. Instead of having 8 relatively balanced weightings, it takes 4 and it weights them super strongly, especially dark horse signals and contrarian narratives.
Hmm.
So we're looking for breakout energy. We penalize severely for overhype, and we probably like overvalue on purpose narrative momentum to try to really get what's going on. What's interesting about this model, although it had like the worst, so to speak, overall accuracy, is it went 5 for 5 on upsets, and it took a lot of swings that we didn't anticipate. But yeah, so we're seeing here the St. John's, Northern Iowa. Let's see here, pick Duke there, but I've got a different slide here which has the major upsets. So 5 of 5 major upsets were called by the Omniscient Edge model. VCU,
Nice.
High Point, Texas A&M, Iowa over number 1 Florida, which is something I want to get into in the deep dive section. Yeah. Um, so these just repeated on the women's side with vibes plus markets at 79% pick accuracy. And we're looking forward to debrief and learn more from this about what we should hybridize and which models can be strongest for us in the World Cup.
Yeah, 100%. That's super interesting. And I guess we're kind of at the moment in the tournament where we can breathe a little bit. There's been a couple of days off. Yeah, lots to kind of debrief around. Yeah, there's no rest for the wicked. There's games coming up tomorrow again. So yeah, it's yeah, fascinating tournament and structure to help us with all this. And yeah, we'll see where the vibes go from here and where the markets can indicate too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Shall we look at some of the upset picks
Yes.
or any questions on the structure? Yeah.
No, I think the structure is good. I think everybody is here for the upsets and to see where the models kind of were screaming and flashing red to kind of get into the stuff where we could potentially learn from and improve. And I'm here for as much tips to improve my own models as anybody else. So we'll see how get on. So yeah, walk us through some of the vibes that were called.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So number 1 here is number 9 Iowa knocking off number 1 Florida 73. I mean, anytime there's a number 9 seed over a number 1 seed, it means that markets haven't caught this. It means that, sorry, the rankings haven't caught this. So,
Hmm.
taking a look at what markets had to say about this, just wanted to check what the spread was in that game. But we were seeing these particular pregame signals. So, a massive surge in buzz around Iowa, and this kind of hit all of the feels for our dark horse energy rating.
Right.
At the same time, we were fading Florida due to this kind of high volume of mentions, but a weak depth of engagement. So we look at various factors about social media, not who is just mentioned most frequently, but how fans are activating around that franchise. And we caught Florida in an overhype cycle in the pregame build up to this game. Iowa had a very, very strong positive shift, 22 points more positive in our sentiment rating after dispatching Clemson. So yeah, this is really interesting. It looks like Vibes versus markets still sorry, Vibes plus markets still liked Florida, but both the Good Vibes and the Omniscient Edge correctly picked Iowa to upset.
Yeah, that's crazy. And just check there that, yeah, Florida Gators were minus 10, maybe as high as minus 10.5 at some books. To win outright is pretty impressive, especially in the round of 32. That Florida kind of dominated the first game. I think they won by 30 something points. So they were obviously well in tune. Yeah, it was yeah, crazy game to watch. And I guess this is why everybody busts out the popcorn, cracks open a beer, and watches these tournaments for something exactly like that.
That's a great point too, because the point differential and the kind of relative strength that Florida showed in that first game means
Hmm.
that it was probably like a pretty healthy 10.5 spread. And this obviously we're not saying that the markets were totally off here because it was a squeaker. Looks like it was a defensive low scoring game, right? So in that type of a match, the vibes kind of tuned us in that there was potential in a low scoring squeaker because Iowa is a dark horse with a lot of buzz. The audience activation is elite relative to other teams. And there was potential overhype warnings on the heat around Florida. That's why the vibes saw it first.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, just checking this, and yeah, the model was still with Florida, so that one got bust by that too.
There you go. I think a lot of people's brackets did for
Hmm.
sure.
Well, I think a lot of people's brackets were bust first game in with the Ohio State using.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got Texas versus Gonzaga. Brief little introduction. We the model had Gonzaga -6 or -6.5. So our potential Cinderella still in the tournament, the 11 ranked seed. What we're on the edge, and vibes versus vibes plus market kind of screaming here.
Yeah, this is a great point because we hear the term Cinderella story thrown around a lot. The broadcast media and the big outlets like ESPN, CBS Sports, they can call a team a Cinderella story. But what's different about our vibes model, what's different about our radar dish that's pointed at social medias, we can see when there's true grassroots, every fan belief
Hmm.
that this is a Cinderella team. So it's not an expert pick. It's really coming from the audience and the audience activation. So that's what we saw with Texas here. They were showing kind of breakout signals in terms of the audience activation and a little bit potential of a brand premium on Gonzaga, which the social vibes were not living up to. Also, we talked about that coach to team ratio. So Texas, it was very balanced, the conversation about the coach versus the team. So yeah, we like Texas here, but the only model that called it was our hyped up Omniscient Edge. The other two models did not. Sorry, there's a little artifact there. This is something where it was a much closer call. I mean, these breakout signals are important, but if you compare it to how clear and confident we were, how strong the signals were on Iowa, I think this is more of like an edge case that the model landed on. But yeah, not as strong signals as the previous one.
Very interesting. Yeah, pretty tight game on the spread considering the ranking differential. I think you would expect more
Yeah.
than a 6 points give up for a third seed versus 11th, but the spread didn't matter at all. They won it outright. So yeah, I think whoever put Texas in at number 11 or maybe Gonzaga as number 3, kind of oversold them or undersold them depending
Hmm.
on which team you're talking about. So yeah, that's fascinating.
Just finally on Cinderella stories, well, I think what we're trying to do is quantify and compare those relatively to sort of anchor them to something that's something mathematics, something that is data driven because not all wins are equal. Not all big wins are equal. By looking at the magnitude of social conversation after a big win, we can kind of quantify this narrative feedback loop where a team wins, social attention spikes, and the believers get on board. So I think our edge model kind of being strongly weighted towards these breakout signals is what kind of helped us sniff this one out.
Very interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Cinderella narrative became self-fulfilling.
Yeah. So Texas are still 251 to 1 to win it all. So that's Cinderella stories. So we got a lot of juice still to give. I wish I had it recorded here so I could pull it up pretty quickly what they started at the tournament at. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guessing if they're in the round 16, that's still 250 to 1. They could have been 1,000 to 1 pre-tournaments.
Yo,
Yeah, some people
charity
are riding
dollars.
high.
Charity dollars. Let's go. Big bets, baby. Big bets. Yeah. Yeah. Scared money don't make money. That's
Yep.
the approach here with the vibes vibes led betting, right? Oh
Excellent.
man.
So on to the next game, Tennessee versus Virginia. So yeah, what were
Yeah.
your models telling us here?
This is a real tight matchup. We got here into the engagement quality and understanding like fans who follow their team, like how are they interacting with the team this year? What's the conversation?
Hmm.
And there was a high level of belief for kind of tactical reasons that Tennessee fans were kind of activating here. Whereas when we really did, kind of like a brand reputation analysis, Virginia is just surface kind of brand driven. It's a big program. So that showed our models, all three models, that the vibes around Tennessee were super, super strong.
Hmm.
And that gave us the edge here, 6 seed versus a 3 seed. Not an unbelievable upset pick, but it was really this kind of poor depth of engagement around the Virginia fan base. Meanwhile, Tennessee having elite engagement quality, that said to us, hey, fans are onto something here. The internet is onto something here that maybe the media and the experts are not aware of as much.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, just checking more models here, and yeah, we were on Tennessee as well. So yeah, one of the only ones here that
Yeah.
we've been kind of aligned that the data kind of matched up with the vibes.
Yeah, I think that's a really important call out because I'm sure that the data were showing tactical strength for
Hmm.
Tennessee, whether around offense or defense. And the fact that their fans were kind of in that same mode, seeing it the same way, that's an alignment where kind of vibes plus markets, vibes plus stats rather, can be really powerful and explanatory.
Yeah, really cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have another game to go over here, or are we on to a rapid
No, I
fire?
think
Let's
we're
take a look at the round of 16. We can play a little game of top
yeah.
trumps here, game by game, to see if we can preview, and then for the next episode, see how we got on. So we're taking a snapshot here in time. We both might tweak our models before the
Yeah.
tips tomorrow, but here on the 25th of March, ahead of the round of 16. Let's go through it one by one. And so, do you want to take over, and I can call
Yeah.
out my model here. I have it all pulled up.
Absolutely. Let's start with that Duke versus St. John's. So all three of the Omniscient models are going with Duke.
Okay, let me pull it up here. We are going. Yeah, we're going Duke as well. Duke minus 6.5. So yeah, we're in alignment here for game number one.
Awesome. And it's St. John's deserve a lot of credit. They pulled an amazing upset. I mean, the vibes are very strong, but I think all three of the models are interested to see why our vibes based models are not riding high with St. John's after that upset. Next up, we got Michigan State versus UConn. 2 out of 3 of our models like UConn for this.
Okay, yeah, we're on Yukon as well, and I wish I had a similar way to kind of quantify it based on our models. Let's see if there's anything here real quick that we can kind of pull up. Yeah, too much data kind of going on there to give you
Yeah,
a quick look at what our models are saying. But yeah, we're on Yukon as well, plus 1.5.
fantastic, fantastic. So yeah, if you're still casual money out there, now's your time to get on the train with us. Absolutely. Nebraska versus Iowa, we have, Nebraska, but our models are completely split. This looks like a toss-up from the vibes. What are you seeing Nebraska versus Iowa?
Yeah, we're taking IO 1.5, and maybe how I can kind of quantify it is this is a 68 confidence score, which is our weakest of the ones so far. The previous ones were 74 and a 71, so just like yours, this seems a bit more of an open shot, really. So it could be an interesting game, especially if it's just a plus 1.5 game. It's going to be tight.
That's gonna be one to watch for sure. We've got Houston versus Illinois, a 2 seed versus a 3 seed. And 2 out of 3 of our models go with Illinois, fighting Illini. Yeah, how
Yeah,
about you?
yeah, we're on Illinois as well, plus 3.5. A 72 confidence rating. And something I just know from Houston from the last kind of couple of years is that they play ridiculously slow. So it'll be quite interesting to see if they can be the ones that are kind of dominating that kind of pace of play, or if Illinois can be the ones to kind of dictate that tempo.
There's a lot to like about Houston, but that tempo matchup or mismatch is gonna be really important. I mean, their defensive style of basketball, I know is something that stood out to us when we started cooking
Hmm.
our models, so that will be exciting to see how that plays out. The last 4 here of the 8 Sweet 16 matchups in the men's, number 1 Arizona versus number 4 Arkansas. Yeah, we're split here. I mean, 1 out of 3 on Arizona, 2 out of 3 on Arkansas. Who do you like? Who does your model like?
Yeah, our model's on Arizona minus 8.5 with a 74 score, confidence score. So it's one of the top three kind of strength signals for the games here. One fun fact about Arkansas, when we kind of did a kind of a pre-tournament, you know, good value bets to win it all. Arkansas was one of those picks that kind of came out. Um, they are currently down to 41 to 1 to win the tournament. Yeah, we picked them up for 51, so about a 10 point swing in our favor. Nothing too great at this stage, but yeah, obviously for my own personal bet that I kind of put on Arkansas, hoping that both our models are incorrect there.
That'll be exciting. Yeah, number 4 seed, lot of betting volume, a lot of action there. We've got up next, let's start actually, yeah, with you on this one. So number 2 Purdue versus number 11 Texas. Who do you got?
Yeah, so yeah, we're going with the underdog here. So we're taking Texas plus 6.5. Obviously, there's a bit of an oversell on Purdue from our model statistically. So we have a 71% score here, and yeah, just to give you some of the high level kind of stats, the Texas free throw attempts per game is elite per tournament or per game. Sorry. So if they can get to the free throw line, I think that could be the difference maker. Purdue are another kind of slow team, so we might see that kind of mismatch as well. That Texas rank 174th nationally in terms of pace, so not Speedy Gonzalez by any means
Yeah.
themselves, but Purdue are 331st nationally, right down on that kind of bottom, kind of 10 or 20% kind of nationally, and then the other one. Is the elite defense of Texas. So yeah, we'll see who kind of comes out on top of this.
We have Purdue with Texas covering, and the offensive efficiency for Purdue, elite 3-point shooting stand out, right now in terms of the stats angle, but there's a lot of social momentum behind Texas as a 11 seed Cinderella with 3 wins in 5 days. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, Purdue's firepower is quite a level above Gonzaga, who Texas just faced. But I mean, the Longhorns community is super strong. We're seeing kind of X volume online about Texas
Hmm.
versus Purdue. So this is a compounding narrative. But I'd say Texas keeps it close, but Purdue pulls away late.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
just the risk to the pick here from our model is that Purdue's offensive rating is second nationally. So and their backcourt as well is pretty experienced in this type of environment. So that could be the kind of risk to our model. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that kind of has a part to play in this upcoming game.
Fantastic, fantastic. Final two of the Elite Eight. We have number one Michigan versus number four Alabama. Who did you like for this? Yeah.
So yeah, the model here has gone for Alabama versus Michigan. The underdog Alabama plus 10.5, so 70% scoring here. See if I can pull up some of the talking points around this game to see why the model went that way. So they attempt a lot of 3 points, so there could be huge variance here if they light it up early. And that could be the kind of difference maker. I think both teams kind of take a lot of 3 points. So yeah, there's huge kind of variance there, but it could be if they're both hitting, then it could be a super exciting game because there's nothing like a run of threes to get a crowd hyped up. And so that's one of the most interesting ones here. So if they're hot, Alabama could be onto a good one, but yeah, we'll see how that shakes out.
We see it as a chalk here from the vibes. So there's a lot of volume around Alabama, but it's looking like noise, not conviction. So we have them rated as slightly overhyped in terms of social vibes versus expectation. And Michigan has this steady, unglamorous, workmanlike, that lunch pail approach that we love from Michigan teams. I'm looking at you, Michigan Wolverine football, as the kind of real engagement that our models trust. We don't see any dark horse energy on Alabama's side to upset as number four. All right. And finally, Tennessee versus Iowa State. Yeah, 2 out of 3 for us on Iowa State, 1 out of 3 on Tennessee. So, what are you seeing in this matchup, Will?
Okay, interesting. So this is our highest conviction kind of pick. So we've got Iowa State minus 4.5. So the defensive rating for Iowa State is fourth nationally. So pretty strong defense there. Tennessee are consistent foulers, and so if they're starting to put people to the free throw line, it could be the kind of difference maker, especially late in the game. Seems like defensive or offensive rebounds aren't great as well for Tennessee. So that could be that kind of difference maker as well. That there's that kind of chain of events that kind of comes off defensive and offensive rebounds, particularly around the offensive rebounds that, if we're getting those second looks, could be super important. So yeah. And then flashing signal here about Joshua Jefferson. Ankle injury, game time decision, it kind of looks like. So that could be the difference maker of taking Iowa State or not.
Shout out to my buddy Drew in Seattle, big Cyclones fan. Let's go Iowa State. Pulling for you here. Personal note. So yeah, just want to give Drew his shouts, his flowers on that. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, fantastic. I love how you incorporate such responsible things, Will, like rebounding, free throw shooting, which are real things in basketball. Meanwhile, I'm over here saying who had the most viral dunk memes, who is getting the craziest responses online, and that's how I'm making my picks here with the hashtag good vibes only. So thank you so much. It's been really, really great dissecting this with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been super fun to kind of put all this together. Yeah, always an exciting time watching all these games come thick and fast. If there's something to kind of learn from, all the better. And I think we've both learned a lot doing our own things individually, but I think we've both learned a lot as well from our different approaches. And pure stats versus pure vibes probably isn't a good way to go either way. That kind of hybrid kind of approach. So I'm kind of excited about the World Cup to see how we can take this lessons into that big tournament, because this is a big tournament, but World Cup is once every 4 years and it's a global tournament. So lots of data, lots of vibes, lots of online chatter. So excited for that.
Me too. With the expanded field this year, so many countries participating that are going to get global stage exposure, and it's a big time for the game in North America. So you're going to have the North America media ecosystem, all the North America analysts kind of coming online for this in a way they haven't before. So stay tuned with me and Will we're going to do a recap episode coming up with the tournament here, NCAA closing that out, and then getting you ready for World Cup. Super excited, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Perfect. See you soon, guys.